My husband's mom accidentally exposed his affair while I was 6 months pregnant with our first child. She thought I already knew about Jessica and casually mentioned her over brunch, like we were old friends. I walked out and went straight to the other woman's house to introduce myself and my baby bump. Now my entire life is imploding, and I'm living in my sister's guest room. He's begging me to come back, but Jessica won't stop texting me. I, 28F, still can't believe I'm writing this. 2 weeks ago, my life was completely normal. Well, as normal as life can be when you're 6 months pregnant, constantly nauseous, and waddling like a penguin everywhere you go. My husband, Ryan, 30M, and I had been married for 3 years, together for 6. We'd been trying for a baby for over a year, and when I finally got pregnant, we were both over the moon. Or, at least, I thought we both were. Let me back up and give you some context. Ryan and I met in college through mutual friends. He was studying engineering, I was in nursing school, and we just clicked immediately. He was attentive, funny, and seemed genuinely excited about building a future together. We got married 2 years after graduation in a beautiful ceremony that his mother, Patricia, 58F, helped plan down to every last detail. Patricia and I had always had a good relationship, not super close but friendly. She'd call me maybe once a month to chat, always asked about my work at the hospital, and seemed genuinely happy when we announced the pregnancy. The pregnancy itself has been rough. I had hyperemesis gravidarum in the first trimester, which is basically extreme morning sickness that landed me in the ER twice for dehydration. Ryan was supportive during that time, or so I thought. He'd hold my hair back when I was sick, bring me crackers and ginger ale, and tell me how strong I was. By the second trimester, things got a bit easier physically, but I was exhausted all the time. Working 12-hour shifts as a labor and delivery nurse while being pregnant myself was taking its toll. I'd come home and basically collapse on the couch. Around month 4 of my pregnancy, I noticed Ryan was on his phone more than usual. He'd always been a bit of a tech guy, worked from home as a software developer, but this was different. He'd be smiling at his screen, quickly putting his phone face down when I walked into the room, and he started taking calls in his home office, with the door closed. When I asked about it, he said work was really busy with a new project and his team was communicating more frequently. It made sense at the time. I was too tired to be suspicious, honestly. He also started working late, a few nights a week, which was new. Before, his biggest complaint about remote work was that his coworkers expected him to be available at weird hours, but now he was voluntarily logging on at 8 p.m. and working until 11 p.m. or midnight. Again, he blamed it on this big project with a tight deadline. I actually felt bad for him, thinking he was working extra hard to prepare for the baby's arrival and the parental leave he'd be taking. There were other small things I noticed, but dismissed. He started going to the gym more frequently, 5 times a week instead of his usual 3. He bought new cologne. He seemed distracted during our conversations, like his mind was somewhere else. But every time doubt crept in, I'd push it away. We were having a baby. He seemed excited about the nursery we were setting up. He'd come to most of my OB appointments. Surely, he wouldn't be cheating on his pregnant wife, right? Now, let me tell you about the day everything fell apart. It was a Sunday about 2 weeks ago. I was off work for the weekend, and Patricia had invited me to brunch at this nice restaurant she loved. Just the two of us, a girls' day, she called it. Ryan was supposedly working on that project again, so I was actually looking forward to getting out of the house and having some adult conversation that didn't revolve around Braxton Hicks contractions and nursery color schemes. Patricia and I met at the restaurant around 11 a.m. She looked great, as always. Perfectly styled hair, expensive-looking blouse, the works. We ordered mimosas, virgin for me, obviously, and started chatting about typical stuff. How I was feeling, baby names we were considering, whether we decided on a pediatrician yet. Patricia was being her usual self, enthusiastic and offering advice based on her experience raising Ryan and his sister. Then, as we're looking at the menu, Patricia says something that makes my blood run cold. And I mean this so casually, like she's commenting on the weather. So, I'm glad Ryan finally told you about Jessica. I was worried he was going to wait too long, and you know how I feel about honesty in a marriage. I just stared at her. My brain completely short-circuited. Jessica? Who the hell is Jessica? I must have looked confused because Patricia's face immediately changed. The color drained from her cheeks, and her eyes went wide. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God. You don't know."
Don't know what?
I asked, even though part of me already knew. That sick feeling in your stomach when you realize something terrible is coming. Patricia looked like she might throw up. She started stammering, trying to backtrack. I thought. Ryan said he was going to tell you. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I thought you already knew. Who is Jessica? I asked again, louder this time. A couple at the next table glanced over. Patricia was practically shaking. She's a woman Ryan works with. Well, not directly. She works for one of their client companies. I thought he'd told you about her. He mentioned her to me a few weeks ago, and I assumed. Assumed what? I could feel tears starting to burn in my eyes, but I was also furious. What exactly did Ryan tell you about Jessica? Patricia looked down at her napkin, twisting it in her hands. He told me they'd been spending a lot of time together, working late on the project. He said she was brilliant and that they'd become close friends. Then last week, when I called him, she was in the background laughing at something, and when I asked who it was, he admitted it was Jessica. He said they'd been seeing each other socially, getting coffee, dinner, after-work sessions. He promised me it was innocent, but then he said I need to figure out how to tell Opie because she might not understand. So I assumed he'd told you by now and you two had worked it out. I felt like the entire restaurant was spinning. He's been seeing another woman. While I'm pregnant with his child. He said it wasn't like that. Patricia was crying now too. He said they were just friends, that you were tired all the time, and he needed someone to talk to about non-baby stuff. I told him that was no excuse and that he needed to be honest with you immediately. I had no idea he hadn't told you. I would never have said anything if I'd known. Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. I stood up from the table. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grab my purse. I need to go. Wait, please let me. Patricia reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Did he tell you her last name? Where she lives? I don't know why I asked. Maybe some part of me needed to see this woman for myself, to make it real. Patricia looked torn, but then she whispered, Jessica Turner. He mentioned she lives in the Riverside Apartments, the new complex on Oak Street. Building B. I only know because he said something about how her apartment had a nice view of the river, and he'd been there for a work video call. Please, let me come with you. You shouldn't be alone right now. I'm fine, I said, even though I absolutely was not fine. I walked out of that restaurant and sat in my car in the parking lot for probably 15 minutes, just crying and trying to process what I'd just learned. My husband was having an affair with someone named Jessica Turner, and his own mother knew about it before I did. I should have gone home. I should have called Ryan and confronted him. But I was so angry and hurt and betrayed that I couldn't think straight. Instead, I pulled up the Riverside Apartments on my phone's GPS and started driving. I had no plan. I just needed to do something, anything, to take back some control of this nightmare. The Riverside Apartments are actually really nice, one of those newer buildings with modern architecture and expensive rent. I found Building B and parked in a visitor spot. Then I sat there for another 10 minutes, trying to decide what to do. Finally, I got out of the car and walked into the lobby. There was a directory on the wall, and I scanned the names until I found it. J. Turner, Unit 304. I took the elevator up to the 3rd floor, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When I got to Unit 304, I just stood there staring at the door. What was I doing? What was I going to say? But then I thought about Ryan lying to me for months, coming home and kissing me after spending time with this woman, and I knocked on the door before I could lose my nerve. A woman answered after about 30 seconds. She was pretty, I hate admitting that, but she was late 20s, long dark hair, athletic build. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, looking casual and comfortable in a way I hadn't felt in months. Can I help you? She asked, looking confused. Are you Jessica Turner? I asked. Yes. Do I know you? I'm Ryan's wife, I said. And then, because I wanted her to understand exactly what she'd been part of, I put my hand on my very visible pregnant belly. And this is his baby. The look on her face was something I'll never forget. Pure shock, then horror, then what looked like genuine confusion. Wait, what? You're Ryan's wife? Ryan Miller?
Yes.
And based on your reaction, I'm guessing he never mentioned me. Jessica's hand went to her mouth. She looked like she might be sick. Oh my God. Oh my God, no. He said he was divorced. He said his ex-wife kept the house, and he was living with a friend temporarily while he looked for his own place. He said the divorce was finalized 6 months ago. Now it was my turn to be shocked. He told you he was divorced? Yes. Jessica's eyes were filling with tears. We met through work in March. We started talking more in April, and he asked me out for coffee in May. He told me he'd been married, but that it ended because they wanted different things. He said there were no hard feelings, but that his ex had the house in the divorce settlement. I had no idea he was lying. I would never. She looked at my belly again and started crying harder. You're pregnant. Oh my God, you're pregnant. I felt weird comforting my husband's mistress, but she genuinely seemed blindsided. How long have you been seeing him? We started dating officially in June. He'd come over twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Always in the evenings. He said his work schedule was flexible. We'd have dinner, watch movies, just normal relationship stuff. He stayed over a few times but said he couldn't do it regularly because his roommate, God, I guess he meant you, was a light sleeper and he didn't want to be inconsiderate coming in late. The lies were so elaborate, so detailed. How had he kept track of it all? Did he ever mention a baby?
Never.
Not once. He said he and his ex didn't have kids, that it was one of the things they disagreed about. Jessica was full-on sobbing now. I feel sick. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. You have to believe me. I would never knowingly be with a married man, especially not one whose wife is pregnant. I believed her. As much as I hated the situation, I could tell she was telling the truth. I believe you. He lied to both of us. We stood there in her doorway for a moment, 2 women who'd been deceived by the same man. Finally, Jessica asked, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm not going back to him. Not after this." Jessica nodded. "For what it's worth, I'm breaking up with him immediately. And I'm so sorry. If there's anything I can do, just if he tries to lie his way back to you, don't believe him. He's really good at lying." I left her apartment and went back to my car. I sat there for a while, watching the river through the windshield and trying to figure out my next move. Finally, I called my sister, Emma, 31F. Emma and I have always been close, and I knew I could count on her. I gave her the short version through tears, and she immediately told me to come to her place. I drove to Emma's house on the other side of town. She and her husband have a 3-bedroom with a guest room, and she'd already made up the bed by the time I got there. She took one look at me and just hugged me while I cried. Her husband took their 2 kids to the park to give us privacy, and I told Emma everything. Around 6 p.m., my phone started blowing up. Ryan was calling over and over. His mother was calling. Finally, I answered one of Ryan's calls. "Where are you?" he demanded. "My mom called me crying, saying she accidentally told you about Jessica." "Baby, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked coldly. "How you've been having an affair with a woman who thinks you're divorced. How you've been lying to me for months while I'm carrying your child. How your own mother knew about your affair before I did. It's not what you think." I went to Jessica's apartment, Ryan. I talked to her. She told me everything. She had no idea I existed. No idea about the baby. You told her we were divorced. Silence on the other end. Then, where are you? We need to talk about this in person. I'm at Emma's. And I'm not coming home. I need you to understand that, Ryan. I'm not coming back. You can't just leave. We're having a baby. You can't keep my child from me. I'm not keeping anything from you. But I'm also not going to stay married to someone who could lie to me so completely. We're done. He started crying then, begging me to reconsider, saying it was a mistake, that he loved me, that he'd do anything to fix this. I hung up on him. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, it's been absolute chaos. Ryan has been calling and texting constantly, alternating between apologizing and getting angry. His mother has called me several times, apologizing profusely and saying she never would have said anything if she'd known I didn't know. Jessica has also been texting me, which is weird, but she seems genuinely remorseful and has been offering to give a statement to my lawyer if I need it for the divorce. I've talked to a divorce attorney, and we're moving forward with the paperwork. Because I'm pregnant, things are more complicated. We'll need to establish child custody and support once the baby is born. My lawyer says I have a strong case given the circumstances, but it's still going to be messy. The worst part is I'm now 6.5 months pregnant, going through one of the most stressful experiences of my life, and I have to do it without my partner. The person who was supposed to be by my side through all of this is the person who caused all of this. I have another OB appointment next week, and I'm dreading going alone. Emma offered to come with me, which is sweet, but it's not the same. I've had to tell my parents, my friends, my coworkers. Everyone is shocked. People keep telling me they never would have expected this from Ryan, which somehow makes it worse. Like, if Mr. Perfect Husband could do this, what does that say about anyone's relationship? The baby is still growing and healthy, which is the one good thing in all of this. I can feel her moving around. Yes, it's a girl. We found out at the anatomy scan a month ago. Ryan and I had picked out the name Sophia together, and I'm still planning to use it despite everything. She didn't ask for any of this. Ryan has been respecting my request not to come to Emma's house, but he sends long text messages every day. Sometimes they're apologies. Sometimes they're him trying to explain why he did what he did. He says I was distant during the pregnancy, that he felt neglected, that Jessica was just easy to talk to, and it spiraled out of control. He swears he never meant to hurt me and that he wants to be a family with me and Sophia. Other times, the texts are angry. He accuses me of overreacting, says I'm being dramatic, argues that he only had an emotional affair and that they barely got physical, though Jessica told me they'd been sleeping together since July, so that's another lie. He's also started blaming his mother for ruining everything by telling me, which is rich considering she thought I already knew and was just making conversation. Jessica has been the most surprising person in all of this. After our initial meeting, she sent me a long message apologizing again and explaining that she'd immediately broken up with Ryan. She said when he tried to explain himself, he told her that I had tricked him into the pregnancy and that he'd been planning to leave anyway. She didn't believe him and blocked his number. She's been checking in with me every few days to see how I'm doing, which is bizarre but also kind of comforting. Like, at least someone else understands how good Ryan is at lying. My coworkers at the hospital have been incredibly supportive. Several of them have been through divorces, and they've been giving me advice and letting me vent during breaks. My manager has been flexible with my schedule, knowing I'm dealing with a lot right now. I'm planning to work up until my due date if possible, both for the distraction and because I'll need the money. Speaking of money, that's been another stress. Ryan and I had a joint bank account, and I had to open my own account and have my paychecks redirected there. I left enough money in the joint account to cover the mortgage and bills for the house for a few months while we figure out what's happening with the property. My lawyer says we'll probably have to sell it and split the proceeds, which is heartbreaking because I love that house. We'd painted the nursery a soft yellow and had started filling it with baby furniture. I went back to the house once when I knew Ryan would be at work to grab more of my clothes and personal items. Walking into the nursery made me cry all over again. There's the crib we assembled together, the rocking chair I'd imagined nursing Sophia in, the little bookshelf already filled with children's books I'd been collecting. It's all still there, but it represents a future that's never going to happen now. Ryan's friends have been reaching out too, trying to play mediator. They say Ryan is devastated and really sorry and that everyone makes mistakes. I've had to explain multiple times that having a months-long affair while your wife is pregnant isn't a mistake. It's a series of deliberate choices. His best friend, Mike, actually had the audacity to say, "Come on, pregnancy is hard on guys too." He just needed an outlet. I blocked Mike's number after that. My friends have been much better. They've been bringing me food, spending time with me, letting me cry and vent and rage. My best friend, Sarah, told me she never liked Ryan anyway, which made me laugh for the first time in weeks. I know she's probably lying. Everyone liked Ryan, but I appreciate the loyalty. The reality of single motherhood is starting to sink in. I'm going to be raising this baby mostly on my own. Yes, Ryan will have visitation rights and will pay child support, but the day-to-day stuff will fall on me. Midnight feedings, diaper changes, doctor's appointments, daycare drop-offs, and pickups. I'll be doing it all while working full-time at the hospital with its crazy 12-hour shifts. Emma keeps reminding me that I'm not alone, that she and our parents will help, but it's still terrifying. This isn't how I imagined becoming a mother. I thought I'd have a partner. I thought we'd be doing this together, supporting each other through the sleepless nights and the learning curve of new parenthood. Instead, I'll be doing it alone while also processing the betrayal and grief of my marriage ending. I've started seeing a therapist, which has been helpful. She's been helping me process the anger and hurt and also prepare for co-parenting with Ryan eventually. Because no matter how much I hate him right now, he's still Sophia's father, and unless he gives up his rights, which he said he won't do, we're going to have to find a way to communicate about our daughter. The therapist asked me if I ever suspected the affair before Patricia's accidental revelation, and honestly, I don't know. Looking back now with the clarity of hindsight, all the signs were there. The phone secrecy, the late nights working, the new cologne, the increased gym visits, the distraction. But at the time, I was so wrapped up in being pregnant and tired and focused on preparing for the baby that I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. There's a part of me that feels stupid for not figuring it out sooner. How did I not know my own husband was living a double life? How did I not sense that something was wrong? But then I remember that the person who's supposed to protect you and be honest with you was the one deceiving you, and it's not my fault that I trusted him. The due date is January 15th, which is about 10 weeks away. I'm trying to focus on preparing for Sophia's arrival and not on the fact that my life is falling apart. I've been taking prenatal classes by myself, which is depressing when you're surrounded by couples. I've been washing baby clothes and organizing the nursery supplies that I've moved to Emma's guest room. I've been reading parenting books and trying to feel excited instead of terrified. Ryan keeps asking to go to the remaining OB appointments with me. Part of me thinks I should let him. He is the father, and he should know what's happening with the pregnancy. But another part of me can't bear to be in a room with him for an hour, pretending everything is okay, while the ultrasound tech cheerfully points out our baby's features on the screen. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. His mother has been trying to repair our relationship. Patricia sends me care packages with pregnancy snacks and baby items, always with notes apologizing for what happened. She's made it clear that she doesn't condone what Ryan did and that she's heartbroken about the whole situation. She's asked if she can still be part of Sophia's life, and I've told her I'm open to it once things settle down. Despite everything, I don't think it's fair to keep Sophia from her grandmother because of Ryan's mistakes. Jessica, oddly enough, has become something like a friend. We've met for coffee a couple of times, decaf for me, and it's been therapeutic to talk to someone else who was deceived by Ryan. She's been incredibly apologetic and has even offered to testify about Ryan's lies if it helps my divorce case. She's also been dealing with her own fallout from this. She told me she's been in therapy too, working through trust issues and feeling guilty even though she didn't know about me. The strangest thing Jessica told me was that Ryan had talked about wanting kids someday with her. He'd been telling her he'd always wanted to be a father, but that his ex-wife, me, hadn't been ready. Meanwhile, he was coming home to me, pregnant with his actual child, acting excited about becoming a dad. The level of compartmentalization required for that kind of deception is honestly terrifying. I've been having nightmares about the whole situation. In some dreams, I find out about the affair much later, like after Sophia is born, and I've wasted even more time with Ryan. In others, Ryan leaves me for Jessica, and I'm completely alone with a newborn. I wake up in a panic, and it takes me a few minutes to remember where I am, and that, while the situation is awful, at least I know the truth now. My parents have been supportive, but also concerned about the stress affecting my pregnancy. My mom keeps reminding me to take care of myself for the baby's sake, which I'm trying to do. I'm eating as well as I can, taking my prenatal vitamins, going to my appointments, doing the pelvic floor exercises. But it's hard to take care of yourself, when you feel like your entire world has collapsed. The divorce attorney says we should have the initial paperwork filed within the next few weeks. Because we're in a no-fault divorce state and we don't have a lot of complicated assets besides the house, it should be relatively straightforward once the baby is born and we can establish custody and support. Ryan has hired his own lawyer, but from what I understand, he's not planning to fight the divorce itself. He knows he screwed up too badly to argue otherwise. What he is fighting about is custody. He wants 50-50, which my lawyer says is unlikely for an infant who will be breastfeeding. The most common arrangement for babies is that the father gets increasingly longer visitation periods as the baby gets older, eventually working up to overnight visits, and then more extensive custody. But Ryan is pushing for as much time as possible right from the start. I find this ironic, given that he was willing to throw away his marriage and family for an affair, but now he's fighting tooth and nail to be an involved father. My lawyer says it's because he's trying to prove he's not a bad guy, like if he's a good dad, it somehow cancels out being a cheating husband.
It doesn't work that way.
The holidays are coming up, which adds another layer of sadness to everything. This was supposed to be our last Christmas before becoming parents, a special time to celebrate and prepare for our new family. Instead, I'll be spending Christmas at Emma's house, very pregnant and very single. Ryan has already texted asking about holiday plans and whether we can spend Christmas together for the baby's sake. I haven't responded. I think the hardest part of all of this is the loss of the future I'd imagined. It's not just about losing Ryan. Honestly, once I learned what he was capable of, I stopped wanting him back. It's about losing the idea of raising my daughter in a two-parent household, of having family dinners and birthday parties where both parents are present and united. It's about losing the security of partnership and having to rebuild my entire life while pregnant and preparing for single motherhood. But I'm also angry at myself for mourning what I've lost because what I've lost was based on lies. That perfect marriage? It wasn't real. That devoted husband? He was living a double life. The future I'd imagined? It was built on a foundation that was crumbling the entire time without me knowing. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Patricia hadn't accidentally told me. Would Ryan have continued the affair? Would he have eventually left me for Jessica? Or would Jessica have found out the truth another way and ended it herself? Would I have spent years not knowing, raising our daughter with a man who was deceiving me? The thought makes me physically ill. I'm grateful to Patricia, in a weird way, even though the manner in which I found out was traumatic. At least now I know. At least now I can make informed decisions about my life and my daughter's future. At least now I'm not being played for a fool anymore. As I'm sitting here in Emma's guest room, feeling Sophia kick and move inside me, I'm trying to focus on the positives. I have a healthy baby girl on the way. I have supportive family and friends. I have a good job with decent maternity leave. I have a lawyer who's fighting for me. I have my self-respect back, even if everything else feels uncertain. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how co-parenting with Ryan is going to work. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. But I do know that I'm strong enough to do this. I'm strong enough to raise my daughter on my own if I have to. And I'm strong enough to walk away from someone who didn't value me or our family the way I deserved. So that's where I am now. 6.5 months pregnant, living in my sister's guest room, going through a divorce, and preparing to become a single mother. It's not the story I thought I'd be telling, but it's the reality I'm dealing with. If anyone else out there is going through something similar, or has been through it, I'd appreciate any advice or words of encouragement. How do you co-parent with someone who betrayed you?
How do you trust again?
How do you explain to your daughter, when she's old enough to ask, why mommy and daddy aren't together? I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. But I'm still standing, and that has to count for something. Edit to add, thank you all so much for the support and advice. I wasn't expecting this post to get so much attention. To answer some common questions. Yes, I'm still in contact with Jessica, though it's weird for everyone involved. No, we're not best friends or anything, but there's a mutual respect there. Yes, I'm pursuing child support and an appropriate custody arrangement through my lawyer. No, I haven't blocked Ryan's number because we still need to communicate about pregnancy-related things, and eventually about Sophia. but I've muted his notifications so I can check messages when I'm in the right headspace. To everyone sharing their own stories of divorce during pregnancy or single motherhood, thank you. It helps to know I'm not alone, even though I wouldn't wish this situation on anyone. And to the few people saying I should give Ryan another chance for the baby's sake, respectfully, no. Staying in a marriage with someone who could lie to me so thoroughly would be worse for my daughter than growing up with separated but civil parents. I'll update again after Sophia is born. Wish us luck.